Hi. Always at the last second with you.
I can't help myself.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome. It is Monday night generational change.
Why are we never ready? We're never ready. There's always something. Here's entertainment for you guys.
Can I at least like do anything with that? Can you? We don't need to see your lack of chest hair. Move the camera up. Button a button. You can button a button. You're not going to the disco. Yeah. No.
I don't know what's wrong with the lighting. For some reason, the lighting's
I don't know. Hello, everyone. Welcome. It's Monday Night Generational Change. I'm Jen. I'm Peter.
That is me.
That is Peter.
Where the hell is everybody? Everybody get the hell in here and start watching.
Jordan ended a while ago. Where are you people?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I did not remind Colin to redirect the audience, and that's my fault. I should have remembered to do that.
I'm dressed for revolution. I am disinterested in Oscar nonsense.
I'm dressed for the boardroom. I was lying down earlier, but I was in where was I? No, I was in Panama City today, not Pennsylvania.
Like the best thing for me in not being a candidate or not working at a law firm is I don't have to have sleeves.
Oh, lucky you.
Oh, it's like, let me tell you, I loathe sleeves. So yeah, not a thing. So it's much better. Life is better without sleeves.
That's always good to know. Okay, that's better. That's better. There we go.
I'm not showing Enoch. And actually, I didn't today, but the last time I actually had my husband come in and like traipse around and move shit around in this area to make sure that he wasn't like lurking. But I am wearing shoes and keeping my feet up on the chair. I'm not pleased.
Ah. Well, I guess it depends. He asked us.
It's so not my bag.
Especially in Florida.
I will tell you this. This is the one thing. I do like to look the next day. Like I'll go and look at what people were wearing just because I think it's pretty. You know, that's basically it. Like that's the extent of interest I have in it. But it could be anything where people get dressed up and there's really pretty gowns and really cool like designer stuff, like just pretty. That's it.
James, thank you very much for the 15 months. It really is amazing when you think about it, how fast time does fly. Well, yeah, I mean, I was in business meetings.
Not even a picture. Do you think that when he comes around, I'm going to be like calm enough to be pulling out my phone and just shooting a picture? If anybody is interested in getting a picture of Enoch, really send us an email. I'll coordinate with you. You can come down here. I will give you access into the studio and you could feel free to wait it out, have some photography.
Let me tell you something. Nothing will ever compare, and I mean nothing will ever compare to the time that it was actually towards the end. I want to say it was probably not long after Jen's campaign concluded. I think it was still the summertime. It might have been like September or something.
This year or this time or last time?
In 24. And so we were in the studio, and the next thing you know, this wasp, queen, not just any wasp, but an actual queen.
Oh yeah, no, she was sizable. She was scouting out what her drones had said to her. I found this really good location, and she came to follow up on that, and she didn't make it out. It's unfortunate.
This was, and I'm talking like it was like that big. Like it was
really big.
Like,
but remember that we also get palmetto bugs.
Yeah, but palmetto bugs are not a big deal.
Excuse me, it's a giant roach that flies. I'd say it's a big friggin' deal.
Yeah, but I'm used to them. It's like, but here's the thing. A roach is not going to do anything to you. A wasp will. Like, that's the thing. A wasp is actually dangerous. You don't want to get stung by a queen. And that's also that's why, I guess, whatever Jason ended up doing, and I guess he just like went in there and raided the place or whatever.
No, I mean, well, I sprayed the shit out of the light fixture up there that time, but I don't know. I don't know.
Leave it to the Irishmen to have the quickest comebacks. But the truth is, we were recording at the time, so it wasn't like we were like watching overhead for like an hour. This wasp just continuing to float, and
I'm totally picturing like a blonde-haired woman now, like just floating around like a really waspy woman.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, this particular one was scouting out real estate for themselves. They were trying to
But
figure out
look, this
exactly
is
where they
what
wanted to
happens
put us
when
at.
your studio is a converted third, separate garage. This is what happens. And you live in Florida and you have to have it where it still can be a garage. That's the other thing. So
Well,
it has to be able to just be back to being a garage. So that's why it's never going to be exactly, which is
Steve
why
will be
but
Steve will be here momentarily. In fact, I just remembered I actually have to take care of something right now.
unbelievable with you. Where are you going now?
I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying right here. I'm just multitasking because that's what I do.
Yeah, that's what you do. Men are notoriously really good at multitasking.
Some are. It depends on what type of multitasking in question. See, for me, I am able to do multitasking if I'm doing something on my laptop for work-related purposes and I'm listening to music, but the music cannot have words. It can only have sound. If it has sound, I have no problem.
I've seen you multitasking, and I think that that's not what I would necessarily call multitasking as much as I would say like time management issues. And also, I would also question if everything's happening at 100%. I question the capabilities there. I would put like certain women up against anybody any day in terms of being able to multitask at 100, and it might require amphetamines. I'm not judging. I'm just saying, I don't know. Men are not notoriously good multitaskers.
That would be unfortunate if that were the case, but no, that's not what I'm talking about. I like ambiance music. If you guys have ever heard that type of music, it
sounds like mating whales.
No, it's very soothing. It's very centering. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, but like, it's so not like that's the music he'll put on in a car.
No, I would not do that.
That's for that. I'd be like,
ambiance music. There is a channel on XM satellite radio called Chill. Chill is a good channel.
Chill's a good channel for chilling, not driving.
Yes, I understand, but it is specifically on that application that you can have. Thank you, beautiful day. I really appreciate that. Guys, for those of you who obviously pay attention and follow us on social media, we had a viral post last night and on social media today on Instagram.
I didn't know till Peter told me earlier today.
Yeah, well, that's because you're not on social media.
Remember? I can't be on that.
Yeah, because you can't be on that hellscape.
No. No.
The only thing, we may not have been 100% correct about what may or may not have gone down last night regarding Gal Gadot, but here's what I can tell you. The reaction of the Zionists is so 1,000% on brand to what they do and how they operate that our tweet that got viewed about 1 million times was retweeted about 10,000 times, liked almost 50,000 times, got stopped dead in its tracks because all the Zionists decided to report the tweet.
Of course they did. But you know what? Like, that makes me pleased. I'd be disappointed because that means they're paying attention.
Oh, they absolutely.
It concerns them and they're worried. So it pleases me when the Zionists complain. And the truth is they'll complain about anything.
Colin, I don't know if you have like a greatest. We'll pull it up with Steve when he comes in a minute. But there's like a greatest hits of Zionist tweets from last night. The way
again, you mean like a response to us?
No, just the way that they lost their mind over No Other Land winning the Oscar. The way that they said that Hollywood is anti-Semitic. Hollywood's anti-Semitic now.
And the thing is, like, I am not familiar with this movie. I don't know anything, like I've not seen it, which, it sounds like it's probably really good. I mean, it just won an award, but I have no idea what it's about, but I really do appreciate anything that really pisses off the Zio-Nazis. If it pisses them off, then I know that it's something I would like. Like, I don't even have to really see it. Like, I'll support this movie just for that. Doesn't even matter. Doesn't matter what it is. But no, seriously, this is a documentary, yes? Yeah, is it documentary or is it like a short? Like, I don't know what this
it's a documentary. It's about a Palestinian activist.
All right, but it's a documentary, not a foreign.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's It's a documentary about a Palestinian activist and an Israeli journalist who basically cover the truth about the annexation of the West Bank.
Oh.
And of course, the Israelis are losing their mind over this because, again, it's exposing the grift.
Well, right. So what you're saying is it's a fact-based film.
Oh, yes.
Oh, so well, of course they're not going to like that.
Well, and here's another little caveat about
facts.
the key caveat to this entire documentary, which is what makes this win so historic in so many ways, is that this is a movie that was refused distribution in the United States. Could not do it, was not allowed, and yet they still won the Oscar. That says, and again, what does that say?
Hey, Bisson won that Emmy, and they tried to have her nomination taken away from her, and she was still able to, and she won it. So clearly there's voters in these ranks, whether they're doing it publicly or not, because the people who vote are a lot of the same people in that room. So a lot of those people in that room that might be sitting there and being like, might have voted for that film, but they don't want their, Zionist producer friends to know that they did vote for that. But a whole shit ton of people in the industry voted for it because it's not regular people that get to vote.
Well, you know what that also tells me is that it was probably
in their midst. There has to be.
Well, it was probably a secret ballot. And if there's anybody,
no, it is. It's absolutely a secret ballot.
Well, that's the only reason that it won. It wouldn't have won any other way. And so we would be amiss to not invite on somebody to our podcast who clearly cares as much about Hollywood and the award shows as anybody.
Don't get him started like this. You're just like.
I'm warming him up.
He detests it more than he probably detests it more than me because he probably doesn't even like the pretty dresses, and that's as far as I go.
No, he's just waiting for the revolution. Steve Grumbine, welcome back to Generational Change.
Hello, my friends.
Hi, how are you?
I'm hanging in there. Boy, you talk about something I have 0.0% interest in. You nailed
it. I didn't give a shit, but I would say that no other land winning the Oscar for Best Documentary is relevant because it's relevant to everyday life. You could throw Hollywood and the rest of the bullshit that they get themselves caught up in away. But the fact that this did happen, that they did win, and they only won, I have no doubt, because there was a secret ballot. The fact that we put a message out there that actually gained a lot of traction and all the Zion Nazis lost their shit, as they did with everybody. And then they managed to just prove our point that they are incapable of any form of criticism, that they have to silence everybody. And in the process, proving that their ideology is going to die, and we just have to figure out how to pick up the pieces. At least that's where I stand. Your thoughts on that?
I have none, man. I have none. Honest to God, I'm like a day late, dollar short on this subject. I'm just telling you straight up. I walked in the door. I feel like it's like you walk into an elevator and the door's open and they're already 3 hours into a conversation. You're like, hi. They're like, what do you think, Steve? And it's like,
yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing with pop culture. I'm usually like so far removed that I'm so out of the loop. Like anything he tells me, oh, this went viral on social media, but I wouldn't know if he didn't tell me. I have no idea.
If you ask me to give a breakdown of the show Silo, I can do it. If you ask me to give a breakdown of Mayor of Kingstown, I can do it.
So you are somewhat cultured. You're not completely devoted.
When it comes to binge watchable series, I am, honest to God, a glutton. But that's what I go to sleep to, right? That's how I allow myself to try and phase out all the bullshit rage I got going in my head. And it's like, sleep. All right, put these things on. And then I watch them for 4 hours. So
are you warmed up, or do you want to get warmed up? Like, do you want to?
He wants to know how, like, if you need inspiration to feel enraged. I walk away angry so much, it doesn't matter.
Well, let me just say this right up front.
Yeah.
So can I, can we make this, what is that, how we have all of our Festivus kind of, I know Jerry bad, but
airing of grievances.
I won't go long on this, but I do want to say this. There are certain all-star progressives out there with the shockers for the, bringing the patient back to life, that are bringing Bernie out of the closet, right? They're just all Bernie all the time.
I'm still here.
Don't interrupt, Bernie.
And, I'm sitting there telling them, like, right now, everything that matters is what they're doing with Doge. Everything that matters is people losing their jobs. It is destroying the economy. It is all the above. Am I frozen? Just want to make sure, because I know I have. Okay. Anyway, so we have the Social Security stuff, and we're trying to bring it. And we've talked about Social Security on this program at great detail, by the way.
Yes.
Okay. One of the best clips out there is when we talked about Social Security. And you would think, and I'm not going to name names, but you know the influencers of the California variety that are all Bernie all the time, that always get the big followings, and they don't know their ass from their elbow about economics, but they're out there pumping their arms, pumping their legs. Follow me. We know the plan. And it's like, could you even bother to take 5 minutes to learn about Social Security so you know what's really happening? But instead, no. We've just got to tax billionaires to make Social Security work for us. And so my grievance is the idiocy, okay? Just pure unadulterated. Follow the idiot. He's saying tax billionaires to fund things, right? I'm all for taxing billionaires. Anyway, so we've got all this shit going on. They don't understand that there's automatic stabilizers that have been passed forever for food stamps and other type things that are just auto payments. This guy's fucking with the payment system. You don't even have to like Trump or hate Trump or anything else Trump to fucking get this stuff, but they can't be bothered here. So I am already raged out, man. I'm ready to go. It's friendly fire. Our own friends are too cool for school. They got it going on. They can't possibly be bothered to learn. And yet they talk about it nonstop, sucking the air out of the room for the actual stuff that matters. And it's infuriating. There.
No, that's good. I walk around generally. I've been walking around feeling angry for over a year and a half, like nonstop. Like it's probably taken a couple of years off my life. But it's very frustrating. And I feel like with each day, I'm getting further and further away from the tree. So it's harder and harder to deal with the people that are at the tree like that. And so it's complicated, right? Like that's supposed to, like when I'm having a conversation with someone, our perspective really comes down to how far away are you from the tree? Because most of these liberals have their nose stuck to the tree. So they're never going to see anything else. And then there's just like, it's a spectrum, right? It's a spectrum of sorts. And I've gotten to where I'm like looking at the globe and it's not looking good. It's not looking good. And I feel like all of that is just so silly.
I look at it in a very simple term because you and I have gone back and forth on this. I don't agree with every element of MMT. I don't. But the basics of MMT is 1,000% correct. It's not up for debate. We spend and then we tax. We have a fiat currency in which we have a Federal Reserve that prints money. And taxing is how you maintain stability of your own currency. How this is even up for debate, to me, is why our country is such a joke. Now, the bigger problem I think exists, which is what Jen was pointing out a week ago, is that Kshama Sawant and Jill Stein, they know better. They're not stupid. They are very intelligent people. They are fully aware of how this works. And yet they continue to perpetuate this lie. I would say the same thing about a lot of conservative influencers. I don't think they're dummies. I think they know exactly what they're doing.
It's the proper talking point, and they know that that's what really gets to people is when they hear the term tax dollars. But I also think, and you guys may agree with this, is that it's both sides are guilty of this. Austerity politics scares the shit out of people and gets them to listen and watch these shows. I do think there is some truth to audience capture as to the reason why scaring people actually, it's like it sells tickets.
Well, you can scare people with the real stuff because the real story is pretty fucking scary.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, this is the thing. So, I don't know if you remember that Spider-Man way back when they had the Green Goblin and Willem Dafoe comes to the door and he goes, I'm something of a scientist myself, right? Every time I hear Kshama and Jill talking about this stuff, I can almost hear them as I'm trying to explain MMT. I can hear them leaning in going, well, I'm something of an economist myself, right? And it's like, yeah, but you're not getting it right. You're just not getting it right. You got the audience, so they're going to defend you. They're going to throw spears at me for saying you're wrong. Because after all, that's what sycophants do, right? They don't know. They don't realize, but they defend. And so because of that, they don't realize, hey, guys, I'm on their side too. Right. I'm not the enemy, you fuckhead. I'm like really on Team Us.
Right.
But because these silly, what I don't think people realize is that the lie that they're using, I mean, we just started from Margaret Thatcher and Ronald Reagan. This is something we need to emblazon in our brains. The goal, and Elon Musk said it too. In one of millions of his tweets, he said the same fucking thing they said, which is there is no such thing as public money. There is only taxpayer dollars. So if you listen to these fucking liars, and they're Sig Heil right-wing shitheads, freaking, doing their things, right?
Yeah.
Why in God's green earth would Kshama and Jill echo Elon Musk's framing? Why would they echo fucking Margaret Thatcher and Ronald Reagan's framing? Why would they continue to give air to that when reality is that because these conservatives run around thinking we're just stealing their tax dollars, going to pay for trans surgeries and abortions and, drugs for inmates and whatever else other crazy shit they can come up out of their ass. They're eating cats in Ohio, man, with the money, with our tax dollars, right?
Eating the cats.
These fucking just dumb fucks, right? So when you sit there and give air to that line of thinking, what you've done is you've now positioned an entire ideological battle on you're not going to take my tax dollars. Tax is theft. Mm-hmm. And the dumb fuck LOL libertarians will get on their high horse with that shit, wrong as they can be. And there's Kshama and Jill, God love them. They're Team Us, telling the exact same story that feeds their idiocy. Okay. And worse, the people that follow them feed that idiocy too. What do you mean? I don't want my hard-earned tax dollars going to Israel. I don't want my hard-earned tax dollars going. And it's like, well, good news, Skippy. They ain't going nowhere but the shredder, the delete button. That's it.
But we do. I mean, here's what I say. It's our resources. It's our collective resources. It's our government that is sponsoring and allowing what is going on. We're just saying that the money doesn't go in the direction they're thinking it goes. That's the difference.
It's more than that, though, right? Think about it. If you think that the only way we can pay for a Green New Deal is to raise taxes on people, if you think the only way that we can solve poverty is to raid the piggy bank of rich people, if you think dollars grow on rich people, if that's how you think it works, then we are always going to be at their beholden to these fucks, right?
I tried to make that clear last week. I did the best I could at that thing. But that's what I'm saying. It keeps maintaining the pie narrative. And that's what we have to get rid of is the pie narrative. And and that's what I say. But people sort of brush it aside like, what's the big deal of how you frame it? And I think it does really matter.
It's more than you know, because it facilitates. Look, here, and let me just throw another one in. If you have zero electoral clout, because this system is FUBAR, it's fake, it's bullshit. But let's just say you're not in any office. You have 0% risk of losing more offices by simply speaking the fucking truth in a revolutionary way. Jill and Kshama, I love you. This is a memo to you.
Please.
Say the truth. Say the fucking truth. It's like saying, I love this one. So I used to be a general manager at Sbarro's, the Italian eatery. And I used to go out to Security Boulevard in the island outside the entrance to the mall. And I made this stupid poster board hat that stood about 3 feet off my head. And I walked out there handing out 50 cent off coupons to every single car that came through into the Security Boulevard mall. Okay. Sbarro's did not go bankrupt over 50-cent coupons. They printed coupons. They didn't do anything. The United States is the coupon issuer of the dollar. So when it spends, it's putting its coupons out there, and you send it back there for redemption, not for funding. So anytime, it's like, can you imagine Sbarro's going, you're taking my hard-earned 50-cent coupons.
I know.
How ridiculously dumb. How fucking dumb.
Well, when I present it to people, what I say is I'm like, so you think that there's someone sitting in an office somewhere waiting for all of our tax dollars to come in, calculating it up and figuring out what we could afford to buy this year. I said, that's what you envision? And when you phrase it that way, people are like, no, that doesn't make sense because it's absurd.
It is absurd. It's ridiculous. And let's take it to another level, right? As a leftist, as somebody who recognizes we ain't voting our way out of capital. We're not voting our way out of the oligarchy. We're not voting any of this shit away. So put that back into your little bag of, special somethings for your children's stories and your Santa Claus memes and all the other things and stop, right? If you think about it as a leftist, if you were living in an electoral situation and you were doing Jill's Green New Deal or whatever, that's going to be a lot of freaking money. It's going to be a lot. And the idea of we're going to tax trillions of dollars to fund these programs, you don't think you're going to have an army lined up fighting you tooth and nail? And you don't think Main Street people that don't have a clue about economics aren't going to be like, you ain't raising my hard-earned tax dollars?
Yeah.
Well,
it's done. It's not happening.
Well, here's where the danger comes into play. Because on the one hand, it was inevitable that we were going to have to deal with the waste, fraud, and abuse of our government because it's overwhelmingly substantial. Then you get comments like this.
I mean, the government's one big pyramid scheme, if you ask me.
Yeah, well, you can tell me better than anybody.
Social Security is the biggest Ponzi scheme of all time.
Biggest Ponzi scheme of all time.
Let's get into this real quick, okay? Honest to God, this is like the most important thing you're ever going to hear. FDR knew that there were a lot of terrible people in the world. He may not have been the greatest guy, by the way, but he knew there were even worse. And so what he decided to do was tie Social Security to this FICA tax thing, so that you were always paying into it, so no one could ever say it was a handout, and that way no one would ever take it away. That was the idea anyway, okay? But FICA is the most regressive tax of them all. Regular people, little people, paying huge amounts of money of their pay that they need today to some tax that's just deleted, by the way, okay? You know that when you go down the roadway and you see those rubber things across the road that are tracking car riding, number one, that's all the Social Security trust. Oh, I lost my camera. I don't know what's going on there. Anyway,
we can hear you.
So ultimately, that whole thing is just tracking how many dollars should go into it. The dollars have been deleted. They don't exist. So it's just a speed bump of and nothing more than that. However, the law says that the trust fund has authority to make payments. So the trust fund is what they hang this hat on. If you look at the other trust funds, none of them have that silly thing about the trustees will make the payments. Only Social Security has that. Okay. So there is no, not a penny of this has to be, come out of anybody's pocket. They could eliminate FICA altogether and give everyone, literally everyone, $5,000 a month. They could do whatever they want to do. Okay. The point is that they want it to be skin in the game. So Elon Musk is out there playing on this because, after all, taxes fund spending in his world, right? And so everybody else who continues to beat the drum about Social Security being that way does the exact same thing. The exact same thing. They facilitate that lie nonstop. Okay. So if you think about it, what you're dealing with is a perpetuation on every level of the taxpayer myth. It's not just Social Security, it's everything. And so Elon Musk, knowing that people out there don't realize this, lives to say, we're going to save taxpayer dollars. It's going to say, and what Elon Musk is really preparing to do, which is both Democrats and Republicans want this, is to privatize Social Security, put it in Wall Street's hands. And now all of a sudden, once again, you privatize the commons, and ultimately it's a trash program now. Okay. There's not enough goods and services out there being made for everybody to have $5,000 a month. There's not enough production to meet that demand that would come from that. So those types of things are stupid anyway. But Elon Musk is playing on the absolute ignorance of the American people, and they look at him as some sort of savior because they don't understand how federal finance works. Anyway, that's it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about my camera. I don't know what the hell's wrong with it.
No, it's okay. I think to me, Elon Musk is like maybe our worst immigration problem. Like he needs to go away. That's like he represents a very big problem. But to me, what it really looks like is they're just rearranging it and fleecing as much money as they can for themselves and their friends as they're watching the end of empire. Because they see it's happening. They know what's going on with BRICS. Like they see that the writing on the wall and that this sort of the ride is going to end at some point. So to me, it's inevitable and it wouldn't matter.
What ride? What ride's going to end? Ask yourself what ride's going to end.
What they think is what's going to end. They think that they got to get as much money out of it as possible. Like, so for example, down here in Florida, it's like all the real estate on the beach is like a game of hot potato. And at the end, someone's going to be standing with a completely worthless property. But the last person to sell it will have made a good ton of money. Now, what they think is going to happen with their money at the end of the world, I don't know. None of this is my, what I like. But right. I think that these oligarchs see it as just honestly profiting. They look short term only. How much money can we make in the short term, either before we get caught or before we're not in office? Like that's just how I see it. It's all just a profit motive.
Yeah. I want to just say this real quickly. This Colonello Valerio is saying Dems don't want to privatize Social Security. May I recommend they go back and do just the slightest bit of historical research, dig into Hillary Clinton, dig into past statements.
Dig into what I was trying to do when I was president of the United States.
Yeah.
It's not a partisan thing, Colonello. It's a neoliberal thing. It's a corporate
capital thing.
Colonello, congratulations. Your comment is so beyond stupid. I'm going to have to do something right now.
No, it's not that it's stupid, but Colonello, it has nothing to do with party. It has to do with capital.
It is 100% a capital deal, right? Because these two parties serve one master, and that's capital. But they support two different factions of the oligarchy.
Oh no,
so there you go, Bubba.
I was 100% dressed for the occasion, and I just want to remind people that my wife Hillary, I'm still married to her, can't until death do us part, literally and figuratively. Did you see her crazy statement the other day when it came to Putin? And then everybody called her out for her hypocrisy. But I have to assure you all that if it wasn't for Slick Willie getting a little too antsy in the pantsy with Monica and others, we probably would have privatized Social Security before I was out of there. I mean, I did NAFTA, trade relations with China, the crime bill, the Telecom Act, and of course, Glass-Steagall. And I didn't think I could do more. I tried. I really tried. I wanted to go down in history forever. And I tried to privatize Social Security, but I just couldn't get there. I tried. I know you have Jen, did I drive you to inhale? Is that what I did?
Always.
Oh, yeah. Remember, I'm not capable of handling something so incredibly dangerous. That's why you just broke the law. You damn better be thankful I ain't the commander-in-chief anymore, because I would have hauled your ass right into the slammer, Jennifer.
Yes, you hear of the rash of like middle-aged to older women that are getting white women being arrested by the dozens for smoking weed. It's the latest rage.
Just remember, when you question how bad the Democratic Party has gotten over the last generation, and it's gotten pretty bad, there's only one well, I wouldn't say the only person, but I proudly take responsibility for what I've done to fuck America royally.
Thank you, Bill.
And then I made sure you all did too. So hope you're all doing well. Bye. Let America always be reminded of who that man really was, what he did to our country, how he and his wife, because she listen,
still doing like you. Why are you saying past tense? Who do you think is still in charge of the party?
They are.
Yeah. Well,
they bought it. And last I heard, it's not like they've been able to climb out of their financial hell that they owe to the Clintons at this point. Like, who's in charge of that? It's still the neoliberal corporate class. So, yeah, still run by them.
I think, this is actually a perfect transition. Colin, if you could pull up the story about the Democratic Party retreat that took place over the weekend. This is very important stuff, keep in mind. This is how the Democrats apparently are going to save themselves politically and electorally going forward. I find that to be hilarious because they're not capable. They are a fading star, much like Zionism. They are really one and the same in many ways. It's the question of which one's going first. Colin, is this the one here? Because I don't see it.
Wait, which clip is this you're looking for?
No. It's not actually a clip. It's a post.
Oh, is that it? Okay.
Okay. So over the weekend, the Democrats consultants, if you will, the top consultants in the party, those gathered and laid out 20 solutions for how Democrats can regain working class trust. Oh, the irony of it all, huh, Jen? And reconnect with them culturally. More than a few stuck out to playbook. Okay, that's terrible English right there. The party should embrace patriotism, community, and traditional American imagery.
Again, they're back to that they think they have a messaging and a branding problem.
Oh yeah, that's exactly
I think that's their problem.
Democrats should ban far left candidate questionnaires and refuse to participate in forums that create ideological purity tests. You see, now, what exactly are you talking about when it comes to
You're talking about things like healthcare and a living wage.
Yeah. Are you talking about the blue-haired Looney Tunes who think that everything is racist and sexist and all that? Or are you talking about people that want a living wage, universal health care, clean drinking water, end endless war, and a safe environment? Oh, no. That's not allowed. That's a purity test. And move away from the dominance of small dollar donors.
That's their dominance in the Democratic Party. That's what they're dominated by. That's so hilarious.
Steve, I'm telling you, they go to sleep at night. Hillary
has to have delusional. They're delusional.
Hillary and Wasserman Schultz have to have voodoo dolls with like a Bernie voodoo doll that they stick needles in all the time. Like he had to come and ruin our perfect little party. Like that's how, honestly,
they're still veering right. They still think they need to appeal to centrist right and right people.
Imagine thinking, move away from the dominance of small dollar donors whose preferences may not align with the broader electorate. You mean like 80% of the electorate that basically lives paycheck to paycheck? Is that who you're talking about?
But these are okay. So somebody's Donald James is asking. These are suggestions that were made from the DNC meeting, from the party, from a committee or something. Like what were these from?
Yes, this is basically the Democratic establishment, if you will, the DC consultant class, the whole nine. They all went to a private retreat, probably, at Martha's Vineyard or someplace like that, and had their little talking points all put together about how they're going to save the Democratic Party.
Okay.
And the next one is they should push back against far left staffers and groups that exert a disproportionate influence on policy and messaging. In what universe? In what universe? These people get purged all day, every day. And even if that
like to have one example. Can we think of one example where well, first of all, can we think of one example of a far left staffer? Because that I can't fathom. But anyway.
Candidates should get out of, quote, elite circles and into real communities, i.g. tailgate. Let me explain something to you about tailgates.
Oh my God, they are so oblivious.
Local restaurants like diners and churches. If the Democratic Party has sunk so far at this point that
they're reaching out to gun shows.
Yeah, if you showed up at a tailgate, like a football tailgate, if you showed up at, forget a gun show. That's
so
suicide.
Funny. That's funny.
Gun show is suicide. But if you show up at a tailgate or you show up at like a diner and you say that you're a Democrat, you are going to get run out of the friggin' place. Like that is going to happen. And Steve will be right back. He's restarting his computer because
he's having technical difficulties. I think this is so friggin' funny. It's almost like, again, it's like I really feel bad for the Onion. You cannot make this shit up.
No.
This seems like what Saturday Night Live would put out about mocking the elitist Democratic Party, and yet this is real. It's so ridiculous. Like, but so it gives me the idea that they sense their own elitism because they recognize that they need to get out of their elitist bubble and go to where the regular folk are, tailgates and gun shows where the regular folk are. Translation, we need to pull over some people from the right because we really are on the same page.
Do they not understand how elitist this comes off?
And that's what I mean. Like, this whole thing is it so proves the point as to why they're dying. That, you know what this reminds me of? This is sort of like the party's version of what Gavin Newsom is doing with his podcast. Like, we're going to spend the next few years being out there amongst the regular people and show you how we're just like you all. And that way you're going to forget all about this nonsense and vote for us in 28. No, we're not. It's never going to happen. But it's so desperate sounding to me.
The party needs to own the failures of democratic governance in large cities and commit to improving local government.
I don't know what that means.
You mean
I don't know what that means.
You mean like keeping Eric Adams on as mayor of New York City?
So, but wait. But they don't need to own the failures of the democratic governance of their party and of the country.
No, it's just the urban blighted areas of major cities. I said that's
just checking. Just your little blue slush fundy areas.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
Okay. I'm just on, this is so absurd.
Oh, it's not that it's absurd. It's actually that it's people just sad.
Like hi, Steve.
But allow them.
Hey, sorry about that.
No, but we're just talking about that you couldn't make this shit up. Like the elitism that oozes from them saying we need to get out of our elitism and go hang out with the regular folks.
Yeah. Colin, is there additional are there any more talking points here or is this it? Is there anything
think that
else?
Was it. I think that was it. It was pretty short.
Yeah, I thought that there may have been a few more.
I can try and find the article here. Just give me a minute.
It's just
unless there's anything that's relevant.
No. It's not. No, I think that was the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, as Chip likes to say, it's the end of empire. There are too many holes in the dike. No one is planning for the flood. Save Peter Thiel, who has an escape pod in New Zealand. Yeah, he probably
Good riddance. Does. Good riddance.
Well, Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel, who is the co-founder of PayPal with Elon, he's powerful. These guys are, they're the other problem, Steve, is that the billionaire class of today.
Okay, are we back with this? Okay.
Yeah, the tech billionaire class of today is a class that is really, they're all on the spectrum. Their lack of humanity is very real.
You mean they don't look like real people to you? Are those not like first of all, seriously, look at Musk versus Lord Farquaad. That to me, and for anybody who doesn't know who Lord Farquaad is, it's the king from Shrek who pretends to have long legs and they have to lift his little body and put them in the fake legs because he's such a small man. That to me, like, look at how they're seriously these
Who
people,
made this?
Me.
Who made It's fantastic.
Thank you.
It's fantastic.
Thank you. Well, it's an updated version. The one we have, our original one, is the four of them with just funky hats on. But I had to find them alter egos at this point because we're at that point.
Oh, we are. But I know you're going to laugh. I don't know who Aloysius O'Hare is.
Okay, so this is important because that is who Bill Gates is. So Aloysius, I forget how they say his name. Aloysius is from the Lorax. And this was the guy who owned all the oxygen and and everyone was forced to buy the oxygen from him. And he made sure nobody could have access to trees.
Yeah.
So to me, that's Gates. Like
a Monsanto version of the world, huh?
Thank you. That's why. And it took me a while to figure out Zuckerfuck, but at the end of the day, he comes off like a spoiled brat that wasn't popular when he was little or got pushed aside by the Incredibles and then decided to, fight back against the world. Well,
if you think about it, the Winklevoss brothers are
the Winklevi.
Yeah, the Winklevi. you know, they're tall, they're handsome, they're square jawed, you know, the whole thing. So, you know, he clearly, I'm sure, had a jealousy of them. And, you know, they, to this day, they say, listen, it was our idea and he stole it. And he ultimately had to pay restitution to both of them, $20 million each. But in the grand scheme of things, what's $20 million to Mark Zuckerberg? You know, he got away with what he wanted to get away. Am I going to be next? Am I going to be kicked out of the studio?
I don't know, man. It's crazy. Jen, what did you do?
I did it ever since.
Oligarchs.
I don't know what it is, but what I'm saying is he comes off like a spoiled brat to me. And all I can say to Zuck is stay away from the capes. Stay away from the capes, because the capes will get you every time. And if you guys didn't see the ridiculousness that was him imitating Benson Boone doing that performance for his wife's birthday, you guys have to find this. It's there's no words. He actually got himself the same costume that Benson Boone wore, except he can't do the flips. And so he just ran around the stage like lip syncing that song. It's so absurd. But this is just, you know, these people are just very small people to me. And yes, I do believe they do seem like they're on the spectrum to me.
Speaking of small people, Steve, Jen and I have very strong opinions about the war in Ukraine. We did from day one. We lost support as a result. I have been on record that there are many dark spots within the Biden administration that took place over that 4-year period. But I think the darkest moment, maybe by far, was the one where you had all of the members of Congress waving the Ukraine flag on the House floor. I thought that that was the most insane, jingoistic thing I've ever seen. And it wasn't even for the United States. It was for another country. I'm just surprised they haven't done it for Israel yet, but the night is young. They could do it very soon, and it wouldn't surprise me if they did. And so for whatever reason, and maybe it's because of political strategy and positioning in another area, but Trump and Zelensky met at the White House on Friday, and Trump reiterated the point that this war has to end. And of course, it got out of hand very quickly.
But if you Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the president for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Come once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military?
We have problems.
And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems, even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future.
Ooh. Thoughts, Steve? I'm curious what, because you know, I have
and very few people miss that line. Very few people did not recognize.
Oh, I knew what he was saying. He's like, they're coming for you next, whatever. But I know my thoughts on this, and I'm just curious, like Steve, unprompted, like, what do you think about this meeting?
First of all, I think everything's kayfabe on this front. I think that Trump and JD Vance are playing a role. I think Zelensky's playing a role. I don't think, for me, like, I get more out of Ren and Stimpy than political theater.
Happy, joy, happy, joy.
Yeah, I truly, but you know, for me, it's very hard to understand how others can take it seriously, and I see people take it very seriously.
Yeah, they buy into the Zelensky hero persona that was created by us.
Imagine a WWE.
I know.
You got the guy walking down the thing.
Are you doing the bushwhacker day? Are you doing the bushwhacker walk? Oh yeah, doing the thing, and they're all yelling, screaming at the guy, throwing stuff at him, and all. And they're really into it, and it's like kayfabe. That's all I want to do is say kayfabe, and that's what I do say. If you look on Twitter, probably 75% of my tweets lately have been going to other people's stuff where they're taking politics very, very seriously. Very, very seriously.
Yeah.
And I just throw the kayfabe definition right on it. Just a big meme that I got ready, locked and loaded whenever I see a knucklehead trying to act like, hey, this is very serious. We got to take it very serious. We're going to talk about it for hours. It's very serious. When I kayfabe, immediate kayfabe.
Yeah.
It's like, stop putting your fucking attention there and start building outside of this process so we can win and have at least some chance of a life outside of this shit. They want it to win. They want it to work. It's like my mom used to watch General Hospital and All My Children, and if she didn't get to see her story, she was devastated, you know? I think these people are like that with this too. It's like, oh my God, my stories are on, you know?
Yeah, well, they
the
buy into
stories.
the narrative because most people who think they're informed watch whatever corporate media they're watching. And so they just know whatever state-sponsored narrative they have, where we've manufactured consent for this ridiculousness in Ukraine that's completely on us, a complete ridiculous could have been prevented. And most of those people truly believe that Putin out of nowhere just invaded Ukraine and he's threatening to take over the world.
Yeah, let me give you a couple quick... Let me just for a second jump in because I put a bunch of stuff out there on this too. Number one, if you don't come to grips with the U.S. is an empire, just start there. Forget everything else you think you know. Just start that today in this era, we are the big kids on the block. Even if we may be diminishing in whatever fashion, we are still the empire.
Yeah.
And we still have 1,000 military bases around the world. And we still are surrounding countries around the world. We still destabilize regions. It's like, what happened in Venezuela? We destabilized them. What happened in Argentina? We destabilized them. What happened in Syria? We destabilized them. What happened in Libya? We destabilized them. What happened in Ukraine in 2014? Maidan. What did we do? We destabilized them.
Yep.
People, if they don't acknowledge that, they've lost everything else after that doesn't even matter. You may as well
watch liberals' heads when you say, you know, when this started was Obama. That's when this started was Obama.
Started before that even.
Yes, but I mean, okay, in the most recent exchange of situations since whatever Minsk II agreements, blah, 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 let's say that was a turning point where all of this, the first turning point where all of this could have just been prevented. Yeah. Right. And yet like we did the same thing. This is just the guy who was stupid enough or had a big enough ego to fall for the job interview looking for crisis actor or wag the dog actor for Ukraine. And now he's realizing probably shouldn't have gotten involved in this shit.
Yeah. Well, think about what U.S. does, right? I want you to think about this going back to 1945. We created all these NGOs, like, you know, international type things to combat communism. Okay. And so we created the IMF, we created the World Bank, we created the Peace Corps, we created World Trade Organization, we created all these things that were intended to bring all these other countries into the United States sphere of influence. We also created NATO. Okay. NATO was supposed to be gone many, many moons ago. But NATO is an arm in Europe anyway of what? Empire.
U.S. empire.
And IMF is a arm of what? U.S. empire. The IMF and the World Trade and the World Bank, all of it are arms of U.S. empire. Okay. So think about this. A country that stopped manufacturing and outsourced its manufacturing around the globe needs to ensure that the slaves produce to survive, you know, supply home. Okay. Well, what does the U.S. do? The U.S. Give Trump credit. He just let the quiet part out loud. We want your fucking resources. We want your rare earth minerals. We want whatever's under the ground there. Okay. He didn't give a rat's fuck about Ukraine. Neither did Biden. Okay. What they did, their goal was to destabilize Russia. Why? Because Russia, in order to be empire, you have to have a boogeyman at all times. Okay. What Biden did in the State of the Union address, and I bring this up any chance I get, was started to pivot to hating China. He started pivoting to hating China. Okay. Well, we had two evil empires there. We had Russia and we had China. Okay. Dumbasses with Ukraine flags in their profile, calling people Putin puppets. Putin may be a bad guy. He may shit the bed. He might, you know, date multiple women at the same time. May smack kids around. I don't know. But what Putin isn't is an imperialist. Okay. He may have fantasies of the old USSR, blah, 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 but he doesn't have the facilities to manufacture that, period. China, however, has quietly been kicking our ass in every meaningful way. So what Trump is doing now is, okay, part one of this process was to destabilize Ukraine, give them an idea they'll be part of NATO, tell them we got you, get everybody's yellow and blue fucking profile pictures and all the other normie shit. Okay. Now that's over with. And so Trump is saying, okay, we are not letting you in NATO. We are here to take your resources. And if you mind your P's and Q's, we might keep Putin from claiming even more territory. Okay. But the bottom line is that it was never about Ukraine. Exactly. It was always about real resources for the United States. It was always about geopolitical destabilization of the people that quote unquote are our enemies because they produce better product. China's out there making friends. They're not out there, you know, killing people and dropping bombs and empire. But see, normie people are like, well, China's bad. Look what they do to, you know, Taiwan, and look what they do to the Uyghurs, and look what they do. China is Sawant kicking us. And the only thing our government can do is try to make them look like shit.
Instead of competing with them economically.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we didn't even need to compete. We could be cooperative, right? Of course. But we're not a cooperative nation because we've given up our manufacturing base.
How about this, guys? How about this?
Go for it.
Do you know that in Australia, that it's basically part of the Australian curriculum on the continent to have Mandarin as a prerequisite in public school? How's that?
Yeah, smart.
Yeah.
Our empire will sink.
I just still don't see, and nobody has been yet able to tell me in what way am I, or regular people, just, you know, not oligarchs, in what way am I threatened by Russia or China? That's what I want to know. And what I think about is, so prior to World War II, when Britain was the hegemon, it was, you know, the British Empire was the thing. And so the now that we're the thing, the people in the UK are doing okay. They're doing okay. I don't think the world ended. I mean, they have their issues, but it isn't. It's not like because they're not. Their issues are not because they're not the empire.
Excuse me. It's my turn.
God
So
bless.
that's
You
what
don't know
happened
that.
in
God
the
bless.
You don't
God
know that.
bless. You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because
I'm
you're in no
answering on this
position to
question.
dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly
this.
what
I'm not
You're in
dictating.
no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very
you will
good.
Feel influence.
We're going to feel very good and very
You
strong.
will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having
I'm not playing
cards.
cards.
But right now, you don't.
I'm
Yeah,
very
you're playing
serious,
cards.
Mr. President.
You're
I'm
playing
very
cards.
serious.
You're gambling
I'm
with the
president
lives
in
of
war.
millions of people.
You think-
You're gambling with World War III.
What do you think
You're
about?
gambling with
What do you
World
think
War
about?
III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country. That's
with
back
all
to
respect
you.
to you,
Far
my
more than a lot of people said
very
they
respect.
should have.
Have you said thank you once?
A lot of times.
No, in this
Even
entire meeting,
today.
have you said thank you.
Even today.
You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the United States of America.
He did.
Woo!
He did. And here's the thing. For all of the shit libs out there, and I know that I thank you, Steve, because you really were the person who made that particular reference to that particular group of political ideologues. It's true. That is who they are. How do we know for sure that Trump is right about this? He is right.
He's totally right.
Because Keir Starmer decided to prove his point yesterday.
The UK is prepared to back this with boots on the ground and planes in the air. Together with others, Europe must do the heavy lifting. But to support peace
Good luck with that, Keir.
and to succeed, this effort must have strong US backing.
Who the fuck is he talking to?
This is he's talking to whatever donors he's trying to grasp.
Well, you can share your thoughts, but I'm going to now show you guys a clip of all the wonderful NATO dignitaries that are arm in arm with Mr. Zelensky and what he's trying to continue.
Okay, well, what I want to say is the neo-lib this whole mentality, and I'm not talking about them, I'm talking about in this country, the entire mentality of people, if you were more offended by how our leaders spoke to Zelensky, then you're offended by Zelensky playing around with nuclear war, which he is, which this is what's happening, then you're a moron. That's it. That's all I have to say. It's like you're more offended by how he was spoken to than by what they're talking about. And you refuse to give any credit where credit is due. The idea that the person is trying to stop the war is the person you're criticizing is insanity to me.
Can I give you a little bit nuanced opinion on this real quick?
Please.
Peter, I'll let you jump in. I just want to throw this out there. Okay. Most of those countries are Euro countries. They're countries that are on the euro. They're part of the Troika. They're part of that Eurozone.
And Justin Trudeau.
Can you name all of them?
And
No,
Trudeau.
hold on. So yes, but what you've got, and this is really important to understand, the deficit spending in all those Eurozone countries is kept to like 3%. There's a cap, a hard cap that the Troika, the central bank of Euro, that has no country, these vassal states, okay, the only way they can spend more money to keep their economies going is through exceptions. And the war, military spending, is exempted from their deficit issues. Okay. Now that Trump has stepped back and said, hey, we're going to let you guys handle your own backyard.
Ooh.
Do you remember the movie 300 when the poets, not the Spartans, but the guys, the bald headed dude that said, hey, let's go guys. It's our turn. Right. They go out there and they're like, hey man, that was pretty tough. And then they quickly abandon ship. These guys are like those guys, okay? And these guys are like, we're going to do it now. But the reality is this is a money grab for them. They are a vassal of the United States. They are vassals. And if you want to find out more about Europe, Tom Fozzi, who has a right populist bend at times, okay? But he truly understands the geopolitical angles here. He is sitting there just kicking the shit out of these people because they're pathetic. Mm-hmm. What they're trying to do is it's called military Keynesianism. These guys have not had real militaries of any consequence.
Nope.
Compared to the United States. They've depended on U.S. You notice how whenever they send their contingents, like 5 tanks, a Sharpie, and a bobblehead or something like that, they don't send this massive force up.
So how are they going to do this? How are they going to do this without us? That's what I'm curious about.
What they're going to do is, because military expenditures are not part of their deficit hold, they're going to be able to spend like drunken sailors on fattening up the military, a la like the U.S. did. So now the U.S., which has to pivot to production locally because we screwed the pooch, if you're going to do empire badly, do it like the U.S., right? So these guys are now going to fill in that void. Because after all, instead of just making peace with Russia and finding a way to coexist with Russia and making the U.S. fall on its, have to deal its own shit, they're going to do exactly what the U.S. wants them to do, which is exactly what they are doing. Make no mistake about it. Just because the U.S. is pulled back doesn't mean the U.S. isn't still driving every bit of that.
Exactly.
And it's all about, when you think about how do you fatten up your oligarchs' wallets, okay? The surefire way in this country, especially, is it's for our safety. It's for these colors. These colors don't run. We got a responsibility to save them Ukrainians. We got this. So what's happening now? That's what's happening in Europe now. And this is how they will fatten up their economies and because they've been steadily ripping away the public purpose, the entire safety nets, not just safety nets, but the entire public apparatus that left those people with health care and college and all kinds of other things. People are thinking they're going to become an expat of the U.S. and go over there and live. Folks, neoliberalism is going to hit Europe with a fucking sledgehammer.
I know.
Oh, yes.
You're in the process.
Can I?
Shit, Anyway, I just wanted to make that point.
No, it's funny you say that because I recently saw this thing about, it was like a thing about people that left, that moved when Trump won, all those neolibs that moved. Oh. And of course you have Ellen and Portia de Rossi moved over they're over in England, living near the Cotswolds and whatever. And I feel like saying, congratulations, you morons. All you did was move from the capital to District 1. How's that feel? Like
Yeah.
you're not anywhere outside of empire. You're still in empire. You might be surrounded by nicer people, because I live in South Florida, and that I could appreciate.
And let me tell you,
But you're in empire.
Yeah, and maybe the greatest gift that Trump gave us is the fact that he has completely killed the celebrity class. Like, they are completely dead. Like, people really used to listen to them. Like, there really was an influence that existed. I mean, never underestimate the impact that Oprah had on Obama's run, especially in the primary. Like, that actually made a difference. But today, people have woken up to the realities of our celebrity class. Now, whether the Epstein story played a role, those types of things obviously had a substantial impact in one way or the other. But I do think we're living in a time now where people are starting to look more inward. Now, of course, the liberal class is always the worst class. And I think the best place to kind of wind down the conversation is the story that on the domestic side of things is really the story of our time. And that, of course, is Luigi Mangione. So there was an event that apparently took place over the weekend that I wasn't aware of. But apparently there was a health industry PR award event that took place this weekend. And the gala was glitzy, but the vibe was uneasy. Luigi Mangione wasn't the only one haunting the night, Steve. Can you imagine? Just 9 weeks after United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson was on a weekday morning on a busy street, the luminaries of the healthcare and public opinion industries made a brief return to Midtown Manhattan, just 7 blocks over and 5 blocks up. In case you were wondering exactly where they were, because that's important. From where the shell casings hit this, don't you let a neolib and a shitlib wrote this,
and yet those douchebags stepped around his fucking carcass and the yellow tape and had their meeting on time. So it's just the whole thing we're having a selective memory on that. But okay,
they gathered for gaiety in the glitzy ballroom. The occasion was the 2025 PR Week Healthcare Award. I didn't know you could win awards in healthcare. Is it based on how many bodies you sent to the morgue? I mean, that might be part of it. A celebration of the sector that crafts the public's perception of pharmaceutical companies, hospitals, healthcare insurers, and care providers. So who does the best PR bullshit? That's what it sounds like.
I've done PR for hospital before. I understand this.
Oof. Oh, you're pretty. Steve, we're gonna have to drag Jen back into the back and put her down like a dog. It is what it is. Through advertising, lobbying, corporate outreach, and so much more. Cocktail attire, please. It has not been the best year ever. There was obviously the public relations disaster of times. The way that they write this, I can't tell if this is satire. Really can't. I can't tell. I don't know if they're being serious or.
Well, that's why I feel bad for the Onion. I don't know what they're going to do now.
There was also the looming specter of an antagonistic new health secretary installed by Donald Trump. Corporate profits for insurance giants were high, sure, but not the highest. Drug makers' stock prices had been flagging. Not to say there weren't standouts. Eli Lilly, the country's largest pharmaceutical company, again, that's a pharmaceutical conglomerate. For those
I've also worked for Eli Lilly.
You really do.
I was a temp.
Whatever. That doesn't. You're still getting purged. Okay.
I was at a temp agency. I got put in there.
You might as well put up a complete steel barrier around your studio. That's the best.
I think it makes me versatile.
Reported 45 billion in. This is so absurd. 45 billion in revenue in 2024, a 32% increase over the last year. The company's net income was up 102% since last year. The profit margin leaped from 15 to 24%. Oh, that's outstanding. Also, the company so what they're telling you is that their corporate profits over the year was somewhere between probably about $12 billion, pocket change. Also, and that's not even counting your shareholders. Also, the company, along with strategic communications from Porter Novelli, was shortlisted from an award. Best in Media Relations for the launch.
That's a big award, I'm sure.
Yeah, Kisunla, a new drug for Alzheimer's that costs patients $32,000 a year. How much do you think that costs in Canada, eh? They complain so much about Canada and how terrible it is. Yeah, maybe $320 a year. The insurance giant Cigna, and I will say my father did work for Cigna many, many moons ago. On the other hand, had seen its net profit drop more than $5 billion in 2023 to just 3.4. Oh God, can't a shareholder catch a break? But it and its house team were up for an award too, in the category of in mental health and well-being, for a holistic health survey referred to as the company's new Vitality Index. The findings were not altogether rosy. Americans report downward shifts in physical, emotional, and financial dimensions of health, it stated, but also optimism is increasing. United Health, meanwhile, brought in a record $403 billion in revenue and notched a best ever adjusted profit of over $25 billion, but incurred a lot of costs dealing with cyber attacks, which brought down the final haul. Oh, you mean because you decided to choose how you were going to go about extending care for people through AI, maybe? And then we all know someone, maybe a random 20-something gunman with back pain allegedly, offed the company's CEO and then escaped the city without hassle. And a huge percentage of America said, well, he's got a point. We can stop there, Colin. He does have a point.
I never worked for Disney.
Wow, well, that's good.
Well, someone put that in the Travers was saying I worked for Disney. I never worked for Disney.
When they say that Mangione has a point, the question becomes, as we are now seeing, with the shooting at the CEO, the biggest insurance CEO in the state of Oregon's house, person who came down from New Hampshire, who came down to Washington, D.C., trying to get some of Trump's appointees. And so the question, Steve, is, are they really thinking that they continue to squeeze the American populace so tight that people are not going to fight back? That the Mangione story is just the beginning? Because I think it is just the beginning.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. I want to go back to something kind of bridging the two segments here before we get too far into that.
Okay.
Biden and gang let the parliamentarians stop legislation through. Okay? I mean, just so we're on the same page.
Sure.
Donald Trump hasn't given a shit what Congress has to say. He has just sat there and literally gone after whatever it is he said he's going after. Now, they both have the effect of the same thing. Biden's letting the parliamentarian block everything, gave the right wing exactly what it was gunning for. Not the right wing, capital, right? Let's just be honest, capital, right? The right wing stupid doesn't understand what's happening, but they do. And then when Trump goes in there, it gives Democrats this kayfabe ability to act like they're fighting against the bad guy, the dominatrix in the White House, okay? When in reality, he's just doing the exact same thing. The difference is instead of a negative version of it, he's doing a positive version of it. One is fecklessness. We just couldn't do it. The parliamentarian stopped it. The other is, fuck the courts, take me to court. I'm going to do whatever I want. So as you look at all these things that you're talking about with healthcare and things like that, ultimately, Congress is a non-starter here. It's not going to change any of this stuff. It is all about fattening the wallets of those rich people, the people that are already rich. And so the idea of copycat Mangiones and all the other things, I think, honestly, the reason why that's happening in that way is more so because we continue to feed the lie that there's something we can do about this through this system. And so they, like a zit that's ready to pop, become a Mangione, maybe, if he's even the one that did it, right? So as I go through this, what's that? So as I go through and I think about this, right, you just got two different versions of the same outcome. One guy that's proactively trying to mentally show you he's going to do these things, and the other guy that'll allow an ant crawling across his desk to block a Green New Deal or whatever. So really, it's the exact same shit. It's not corporate. It's not there. It's not the Democrats represent corporate. He represents oligarchy. They both represent factions of the oligarchy. Okay. So this show that they put on is about us feeling like they're doing for us and believing in this manufacturing of consent that has nothing to do with us. It has everything to do with funneling money to their cronies, to the rich, to these people. And what do they need money for? Ultimately, money is used to keep the slaves down. It's used to bribe us and keep us where we are. And their ability to buy our labor, their ability to buy goods, their ability to buy islands or whatever it is, their ability to survive above and beyond the pig slop. While it's so in your face that it's somewhat shocking to me that people can't see that directly. Like forget all the details, 32 million, 5 billion, 28.9 million, whatever the number, it doesn't even fucking matter. It's the same exact game. You look back to the collapse of the mortgage industry. You look back to the Big Short. You understand the rotating from industry on Wall Street, Jamie Dimon, all those people, in and out, the same exact thing. Healthcare, in and out, same exact thing. Big ag, in and out, same thing. Big oil, same thing. Why do we have to wait all these years for medical marijuana to be gouged out of us from dispensaries? Why? Because they needed to make sure some rich fucks could make money off of it before they took it away from the black and brown people and all the other regular people that were just trying to get high. Right? So they have done everything they can. Everything they do is for the wealthy. It's not the Democrats, not the Republicans. It's the oligarchy. It's the kayfabe of this fake thing that we buy into. We got to save our democracy. Jesus fucking H. Christ, what is wrong with you? There is no fucking democracy. Even if you really believe, you must understand the Constitution was never for the people out of doors. It was always for the wealthy white landowners. It says it in the fucking documents. Every one of these things was never for us. That's why it's a representative democracy. It is so infinitesimal. Congress never grew with the population. None of the things ever happened. It was always about things that we don't want to face because it robs us of the illusion that we can vote our way out of this. That's got to be scary for people. I'm older. It's not like I'm running down the street with freaking machetes ready to kick some ass. I'm an old dude, right? I'm probably not going to be that guy. And yet at the same time, mommies and stuff with their kids are looking at them and say, God, I don't want to, what do you mean a revolution? What do you mean? Oh, I got to believe in this kayfabe because if I don't, the alternative is to accept that we can't vote our way out of this. So it's the whole thing. So I think you're going to see more Mangiones as they realize they can't get the soccer moms and the dumb fuck dads to get off their fucking comfort zone and realize that being a slave is not the way to go. It ain't the way to go. And that's all we are because we have no say. If we had a say, we'd already have healthcare. Right. If we had a say, we'd have free college. If we had a say, you know what I mean?
If we were a democracy, those things would exist. And I call it, we're wage slaves. Everybody's a wage slave. You're just at a different level. I would like to have I think we should change the name of the segment to Mangione economics. Because I think that this should be the new approach to dealing with economics. And we just call it Mangione economics. And we keep it,
hey,
I didn't see anything.
We got to do something. We've got to do something to wake people up, Jen. This is the thing. I fought with Peter earmuffs. You won't like this. I fought with a libertarian on Twitter. Okay. And this guy was fighting with me back and forth. And he didn't know anything. But he kept tagging Elon Musk. Elon Musk, he thinks you don't know what you're doing. Elon Musk, guess what? He doesn't think, he thinks taxes don't fund Elon Musk. And I was like, dude, you've got sand in your gash. Get the fuck off the thing, man. What is up with you, dude? And he just kept going on and on. This is the problem. People don't want to learn. And when I say learn, they don't want their illusion shattered because it's terrifying. I'm thinking about if you watch the movies or the show Silo, everybody's trying, they see the birds fly, they see the day, they don't know what's up because they're so fucked in the head. They have no idea what's going on outside the silo, inside the silo. It's all lies. That's our world in a nutshell. All of it. We're afraid to know the truth. And so we create these things, or we don't create them. We accept them. We buy into them. Kind of like, I hate to say the Matrix. I know that's cliche, but you can imagine that you need a Bernie Sanders to be the girl in the red dress. Otherwise, it's too perfect. Everything will crash if it's too perfect. It has to have some sand in the system. So Bernie Sanders will come out. He'll say his few things. And ultimately, it leads nowhere but back into the thing. Right back into the kayfabe, back into the fake thing. Like he's not leading us to a revolution. He's leading us back to the Democratic Party so we are good little boys and girls and do as we're told. And this is going to feed the point of this segment, which was back to the Mangione economics.
Did you see that Mangione monetary theory?
That's actually, I didn't. I was.
Someone put up there was Mangione monetary theory.
Yeah. So somebody said they never heard of this before, and let me just say, it's called Silo, and it's a sci-fi series on Apple Plus. Okay, and what it is I won't give you spoilers, but I will give you a little bit of a thing here. There's this one silo. It's a silo deep in the ground, like a bunker. And it spirals, and there's floors, and there's the basement is the lower end people that work in the mechanical room, and the people at the top are the judiciary and the blah blah blah. And so there's all this class baked. It's a really, really good kind of class base. How do they manufacture consent base? How far are they willing to go to manage the illusion phase?
Sounds like Hunger Games, which is how I like it. Sounds very similar to how they just delineate class.
Well, the difference in this is that the people genuinely think they're doing the right thing. Even the judiciary and all the other ones, they don't know that they're doing some shitty thing in defense of some lie. And so anyway, it's worth your time to watch the show. I mean, I saw some people have negative opinions of it in the chat, but truth be told, I don't watch it for entertainment value. I watch it for good correlations when I'm telling stories, when I'm doing other shows, doing my own shows, things like that. I want those cultural tie-ins so I can demonstrate the story, and Silo is really, really good at that. There's a bunch of them that are really, really good at that, but Silo really, and Severance. Silo and Severance are two shows that if you watch, you can really get a feeling for the alienation of the working class and for how far afield we are from knowing what the ruling class is doing and how we're just like freaking sheep to be herded. It's mind-blowing, and you start feeling some type of way about your own existence as you start seeing the parallels. So that's my take on it. And if you think about all the other stuff, you begin to realize that that's what we're in right now. We are literally in a false reality that they have manufactured so that we believe and keep waking up every day and going to work every day and doing the things every day and sending our kids off to school to be indoctrinated every day, to come home to be good capitalists every day and wave the flag and all the other stupid shit that they do there. They don't teach kids how to think. They teach kids what to think. They don't teach anything that's meaningful. There's no real dialectical, historical perspectives. It's all 100% propaganda just right down your throat. I mean, when I
some
think about,
countries are better than others with education, I'll say that.
Yeah, well, we do a real good job of lying to our people. Do you know,
ours
for
is
me
horrible.
to hear people say that we have got to save our democracy, I want you to think about just on its if you're saying democracy is your ability to vote, then you're crazy, because that's not what this democracy is. You do not have a democracy. You don't know 99.9% of the things they're deciding to do. You don't know why they're doing them. And the purpose and the problem is it isn't for our benefit. It isn't for our benefit. We're incidental. If we accidentally benefit from something, they'll sell that till the cows come home and people will cheer for it. Like, hey, like there was this one scene in 1984 that I'll never forget. They had adjusted the chocolate rations down. And they said on the news, hey, we've increased the chocolate ration to 10 whatever per person, when it was 20 the week before. And they're like, double plus good. They've increased it. That's great news. Blah, blah, blah. And this is your average Democrat, your average Republican, your average normie person that is, they know something ain't quite right. They can see the ripples in reality, but they can't quite put their finger on it. So they just go back to potato and just accept it and just go through the motions. And, bread and circuses is very difficult to overcome. I mean, I love hockey. I love football. I watch this. I love music. I watch these shows. But I admit that I have purposely put a kill switch in my brain that allows me to understand that this is not real. This is, okay, this is fun. It's cool. But the whole thing is really something far more nefarious. It's a green screen lifestyle.
I agree.
If I turned watch this, just for shits and grins, I will turn my virtual background off. Let me see here if I can do this real quick. Turn it off. None. There you go. That's what the reality is, right? There's a green screen, right? I put that back on and voila, I'm at the Capitol again. This is what the world is like in
Well,
reality.
we've been saying this for a long time. I mean, it really is like the people that are living in the Matrix, and there are those of us that are out in Zion that are trying to get as many people red pilled as possible. And if we can do that before the Sentinels like completely destroy us, right? Like it's sort of like a race to the finish, but for us, it's more like a race against climate. Like, will we be able to red pill enough people to save humanity? And I don't
think
know.
so.
I
don't think so.
Not in my
don't think so.
but yeah.
Just from my perspective, and mind you, most of what I talk about, is economics, right? Because I understand how they're using the tool of economics against us. And I understand how the lies prevent us from understanding the reality in which we're in. Oh man, if we just elected a few more progressives, we'd all have Medicare for all suddenly. We'd have a Green New Deal and everything would be great. And that lie is strong enough to keep people going, right? And that's all they need. They don't need all of us to believe. They see us. I'm like that asshole in the inner city with a John 3:16 sign on the corner, right? Dude, and they keep on driving. They throw a fucking banana peel at me as they drive on down the road because they are going to the truth. That's wherever the man told them to go, right? Reality at this point in time is just so almost impossible to find. Reality is like so tantalizingly close and yet so far away. And I mean, shit, fucking give me some mushrooms. Let me find it on my own, right? But it won't work because what you're coming back to, this whole world right here, is filled with you bringing a lie to me, Peter bringing a lie to me bringing a lie to you both, everyone lying to each other to facilitate the facade. It's the web, the mycelium of our lies is so powerful that in order for us to flip that around, in order for us to change that, we would have to have trust. And look, the minute somebody says, hey, Ukraine was a psyop, Ukraine was really about U.S. empire, every normie out there is going to be like, what are you saying?
Yes.
You're a Putin puppet. What are you, a Trumper? Right. Because they're fucking just mind fucking stupid.
I believe that group is dying off. I do. I don't see young people coming and getting in that group. The young people are not really with that, but
they're on the other side. See, this is the problem. They're not. They're like they've been cryptoed out of their mind.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, they go the other way.
So this is why we talk about, well, the goddamn boomers have been doing blah, blah, blah. Well, you got to understand the propaganda that was instituted on boomers. They bring that till their deathbed. Then the extra, I don't know what all the propaganda we've been selling is. I don't know yet. You know what I mean? I think I'm getting in, but it's so deep.
Well, we can only do, so bringing it back to the tree thing, we're just getting further and further back. And the further back you go, you have a whole different perspective. So the question is, right. And that's why I feel like we're trying to pull people back to see the forest through the trees because they don't see it. They cannot see it. It's too scary. And I recognize that, like I do, but it's happening whether they like it or not. Right? Like this is going to happen whether they like it or not. It's going to get more uncomfortable before it gets better. And that's something that people don't want to hear, but that's just the reality. And I tell people all the time, you need to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Chris, whom I love, said boomers are people also. And I want to be crystal clear. You could put boomer, Gen X, Gen Z, millennial, whatever, all these different ones down. And if you could have a real honest to God AI that understands the lies we're telling each other, instead of it just feeding off the shit we feed it and coming up with answers, if it really had a sentient ability to see through it all, it would show all the layers of propaganda each generation. It's just different propaganda. Do you know what I mean? We're all propagandized. Like these guys, the boomers, were fed Red Scare stuff. They were fed fear of Russians. So that's why they're so easily played on by Putin puppets and all the other shit. But then you go to Generation X and folks like us, we have a totally different ball of cheese. We remember the Iraq war. So everything's a war for oil or it's a this or that, the other. But we think, hey, we just didn't do a good job voting. We just didn't do a good job training up good progressives, if we just trained up, and this is what our generation is doing now. We think that if we just make the electoral process work for us, everything will be grand. The other generations are starting to say, fuck that, man. Let me go ahead and be the best individual I can be. I'm going to play a video game. I'm going to use my crypto to play games. I'm in my fake world. I'm happy as can be. What do you want from me? I'm eating bonbons, playing video games. That's their version of propaganda, and it comes through different things. My son plays a game called Goat Simulator. And it's funny and it's terrifying all in the same breath. It has no purpose other than destroying and creating havoc. No purpose. There's not a goal. There's not like little achievements anywhere. It's just destroy whatever you want. And as he's driving this goat through the city, there's a sign that says Libertarian Island. And I was like right there, instantaneously training him to be ruggedly individualistic, ignore the collective, hate the collective. And he's just 9 years old, autistic. He doesn't know what it says, thank God, right? But I look at my wife, and she doesn't know it either. And I'm like, there you go. This is the angle they're attacking them.
It's capital. It's all
Yes.
capitalism just keeping us divided. And for me personally, anything that's not talking about degrowth is not going to ever be our solution. And so like most of the things that people talk about as solutions are still to me not real. And so exactly. And so until we're really addressing the big things, and again, the further we step back and look, the bigger picture we see. And so for me to hear things about like renewable energy, it's like, that we're so far past that at this point.
Can you do me a favor, Colinello and Kat Negrita? They're saying, hey, I'm human, not defined by a phony generation. Okay, cool story, bro. It's not about what you're defined by. It's a matter of the TV shows you watch.
Yeah, it's what we were exposed to. That's all he's saying.
Everything that was during your era. Your era, the things that they pushed out during that era has nothing to do with you as an individual. I'm sure you're a wonderful person. You're probably a great dancer, probably good at Parcheesi even. I'm telling you that they push out different propaganda. Okay,
the narrative of the era. The narrative of the era is what we were all subjected
all we're
to.
talking about here.
Yeah.
There's no generational hate either way.
No.
It's describing what each group has like.
Steve, we know who the coolest generation is.
VA from NY. VA from NY. Her. I can tell you right now, her and Methuselah were doing the Texas two-step. Okay, she knows full well what her era was, and I know because she's my friend, right?
Okay.
So I know that her era had certain things. They were out there in the 60s. They understood a different kind of propaganda, right? A different kind of exceptionalism, a different kind of racial wars, and they understood the struggle for civil rights, the real struggle, the one when it was really fucking on fire. She understood that. We haven't experienced that. So what do we call it? We call it woke. We call it weaponized identity politics. We call it, and it is now, because it's like a factory second of the 60s, right? It's a Wish version of it, a Temu version of it. But each generation has got, I mean, think about McCarthyism. Right? None of us experienced McCarthyism until now. Now, all of a sudden, they're looking at which government employees might be woke, which ones might be against the administration, which ones do we need to fire based on their mindset and the blah, blah, blah. So this is a new level of grooming, a new level of generational grooming that sadly is, it's just there. If you keep your eyes open, you can see what's happening and kind of compare it by generation, not by the people, but by what was going on, right? And yes, cultural hegemony.
Yeah,
Boom.
and I will agree with Rafi. 70s and 80s, 60s, 70s. That's the best music. Let's be real.
Yeah, it's the best.
Gen X is hands down the coolest of the existing generations.
I got the
know it. We all know
exactly.
And the people that are in Gen X, come on, you wish you were. And so that's just the way it is. And we know it, and we're very confident about it. That's why we don't get involved in a lot of the nonsense.
Well, Steve, let's conclude on this point. I remember, I mean, I was 17 at the time, but even then I knew that the election was stolen from Al Gore with George Bush. And you can't experience something at that level when it's right in your face, when you know clear as day that the electoral process, whatever you think it is not what it appears to be. And then you go past that and think everything is just okay. that we should just accept this. If we lived in a real democratic republic, the people would have risen up against the powers that be. Even the people that voted for Bush would have said he didn't win. So this cannot stand. This is an illegitimate president. And when Trump won legitimately and people were up in arms saying that it wasn't real, at that moment, you have to recognize how indoctrinated tens of millions of people really
It's
are.
all tribal. There's no reason.
100%. Yep. They will fight to protect a dying machine. And I've told Jen this the other night, and I'll tell you, and I will tell the audience. So as I've mentioned, I am in commercial real estate. I deal with people that have enough money to buy millions of people over many times. And I can assure you that the biggest issue, particularly with upper class liberals, they do not realize just how fucking small they really are. They think they matter, and they think they're relevant. But what they don't understand is that even if they purge the shit out of all the poor people in society, because again, here's the problem with liberals. They do see themselves, they fancy themselves as better than the average person. And so eventually what will end up happening is that if you purge, let's say the Great Flood happens and a fifth or even a fourth of the population is wiped off the planet. You know what's going to happen next? You're getting pushed down to that level, and then you'll be pushed off. So eventually it's coming for you too. Like if you think that you can survive this, you can't. That's why Elon Musk is throwing up the biggest warning signs you've ever seen. He's not even trying to manipulate your brain. He's telling you we're going to Mars. That's where we're going. You know why?
Because he's a small man with a micro penis.
Well, that may be true.
Small dick energy.
Just saying. I mean, that would be my best guess.
But that's also dealing with the reality of where their mindset is. They think because they are in the ultimate class of people that they can get. Don't Look Up was a mockumentary.
I love that movie.
But it's so true because they really do believe that they can just get on this big rocket ship and go to another planet and live, and everyone else has to die.
And I keep picturing all of those guys, and just in case we don't want to forget. So I just picture all of them going to that place and be eaten by that giant bird creature that ate Meryl Streep and Don't Look Up. Like they're all going to go there and think they've all beaten the system, and they're all going to get eaten by whatever is out there. That's what I think.
And all of the shit libs are Jonah Hill. They're just sitting back there. They're coming back for me. I'm important. They care about me. It's like, and it sucks that it's like that, but that's how it is.
They're not coming for you. And those of us with brains are going to be living in the red places with people that actually know how to do shit.
And that's how, and so our job with our channel and what you do, what Jordan does, what some of the others, Tim Black, there's people out there that have a good message that are fighting for what is really going on, which is this is a broken empire. It can be salvaged in a new creation, but even attempting to salvage what we have right now is a fool's errand.
Well, you think capitalism can work. You think
hold on a minute. I believe that the free market can work. Now, whatever you think of the capitalist system and what it needs to turn into, that's fine. I'm not arguing that point. I'm saying that this system is not salvageable.
No.
It's not.
Speaking of not salvageable, tell your boys over at Due Dissidence. Let's have a chat.
I've been trying, man. I've been good to that.
I don't bite that hard. Come on now. We can do it.
Was there a thing where they said they wouldn't? Like, I didn't know that was a question.
I don't know. It's just been a flirt for a year and a half. I have people constantly paying super chats to get them to try. I'm not doing it. I mean, they do it on their own. You're not him, Steve. Come on. Okay. And I think Peter's talked to it. Just not happening. It's never going to happen.
Manwith and Wanker Tank and everybody, well, not Wanker Tank, but Colanello and Manwith and everybody who has a problem with the free market. Let me assure you that this is the problem with liberals, which is they do not account for human nature, and conservatives do not account for human greed. The free market is what runs the global economy. However, our country doesn't give a flying fuck about its own people. Other countries do. And that's why other countries either have some form of a hybrid system or they have basically a social democracy. And that's how they're able to have their cake and eat it too. Now, no country is Perfect.
We'll see how well that. Well, and again, they're not far behind us, but it's all the same thing. He does like. You really believe that it can't work, and I reject that you say liberals don't take into account human nature. I don't think all of us necessarily have the same human nature. Again, some of us support the concept of degrowth and small sustainable communities that are run democratically. Actually democratically. So there are those of us that do believe that, and that's my natural state of being, right? So that's my nature.
A few years ago, I did do this. I mean, I was on Hard Lens Media. I was probably about 20 pounds heavier then. My face was rounder, my hair was shorter. But I did do I think it was back in like 2018, 2019. I was on Hard Lens. And I've been on Sabby quite a few times back in the day. It's been a long time since I was deemed worthy. See, I pissed a lot of people off when I didn't, bend a knee to state by state solutions because I understand economics. Because I understand economics, I got the old black flag, which is fine, but I'm not going to say a lie just to fit in. I'm not going to be ignorant to fit in. I'm not going to do that. So I can't imagine why somebody would want me to be ignorant. I would think they'd want me bringing the heavy lumber because I'm going to tell you how it is. But anyway, whatever. I mean, it would be great to be on there because the truth of the matter is there has never been a time that has been more important to understand not only MMT, but the way it works, because you're watching Musk dissemble everything under the false pretenses that he's putting out there.
Right.
And if you really want to understand it, there's no better time than now to learn about it. So I think the timing of this is ridiculous that people aren't more interested in it. I guess they're just like, hey, how about it, Elon? Here's a chainsaw for me, courtesy of, my mom that's getting ready to get laid off. I don't know. So.
Well, they're hating them for all the wrong reasons. They're hating them because their tribe tells them to, and because Trump is so mean and he spoke nasty. That's why they hate him. They don't hate them because of actual policy. And that's why it doesn't even, they don't even know what they like and don't like. That's the truth. Yeah. People have no idea.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I'm anytime they want, if they're willing, I'm happy to do it because it needs to be talked about. And it needs to be talked about. And I'm not a rookie at this. I'm not coming with an empty glass. I know what I'm saying. I pour the glass onto the table. There's a lot of information, and it's important information. And it's not like, shitlib or academic-y. It's really kind of, I'm to the point of fuck around and find out about this stuff. We're way past the point of, isn't this cute? Oh, that's a neat theory. You're watching it happen in real time.
Yeah, and I would say that to Russell. He keeps talking about how he needs to read about MMT. This isn't new. It's been around.
You don't need to read about it. Look, at the end of the day, play the game of Monopoly. Play the fucking game of Monopoly. You're going to realize in quick terms that the bank never runs out of money. Period. Okay. And the fact of the matter is they're worried about inflation and stuff like that, but they're not looking in the right fucking place. Okay. Inflation is not about printing money. God, for fuck's sake, it's not about printing money. I know libertarian logic says more money equals inflation.
Inflation,
right?
And blah,
that's
blah,
not
blah,
real.
Deficit, blah, blah, blah.
It's not fucking real. So, I mean, seriously, and it's not a mean thing. I mean, I used to be an LOL libertarian. I used to be a Ron Paul bot. I used to be wagging my creature from Jekyll Isle, shaking it feverishly in my hand, right? All the same shit, the Ayn Rand bullshit, all of it, man. Murray Rothbard, on and on and on. I get it. I do. And I thought I even really got it when I got my MBA. I thought, well, shit, now I know my ass. I know what I'm talking about. I had to unlearn $125,000 worth of shitty student loans because they taught you to be a good capitalist. They taught you all the lies of the system. Yeah. And you're there with authority because now you've got a professional degree and you're running around. I know this. Of course, this is how it is. Countries sell bonds to finance everything. Okay. Bonds are fucking money to people who already have money. It's payola to get them to look the other way while you spend on something other than them. And this is the deal. This is why there was inflation. This is why there was so much gouging, why companies worth 1,000% profit because of disaster capitalism. And people just say, oh, it must be because they printed money. Jesus fucking H. Really? Show me the magic pricing fairy that made prices just randomly go up. No, it was douchebag capitalists sitting in a smoky room saying, hey, we got the veil of a crisis. Never let a good crisis go to waste. And let's go ahead and fucking jack them prices through the roof. Everybody's doing it. It's all the rage. And they made money hand over fist. And in order to get them to start reducing some prices, they raised interest rates. Why? Because what are interest rates? They are fucking payola to people who already have money. So they won double. They won by raising the prices, and then they won by getting free money through the interest income channel. Win, win, win. We lose, lose, lose. And worse, our own people are going, yeah, they printed money. It caused inflation. Fucking unbearable. Unbearable.
Talk about the perfect note to end the conversation. In Monopoly, the money gets handed out before you can begin.
Exactly. They spend it into the existence of us.
It's actually amazing how the ultimate capitalist board game can teach you exactly what you need to know about basic economics. Crazy, isn't it? Guys, Steve's links are in the description. You know, he's one of our favorite resident guests on our show. Make sure that you check out The Real Progressives. Make sure that you check out Macro and Cheese. Jen has been a guest on Macro and Cheese.
Yes, twice.
And Jen is the real deal. She is my compatriot, if you will, and somebody who has actually taken Steve's message to heart and has actually spread that message. Unlike a lot of other people who
we were proud of you, Jen.
Yeah,
very proud of you.
I just accept new information like any reasonable person should, right? Like
your cup has a little room. You pour a little out so you can fit new information in. It's just called being a grown up.
I'm a pothead, so it's like, and the stuff flows out just as fast as it comes in. You know.
Appreciate you being here, brother. Keep fighting the good fight. You know we will.
All right.
Always one of our.
And I saw who was it who mentioned The Fountainhead? Fountainhead's one of my all-time favorite books. And not because I believe in Ayn Rand's philosophy, but just because that book means something to me because of the person who gave it to me and just the story and the characters in the book. But in any event, yes, I do remember seeing the movie. It's been a long time, but the book is special. Did you run our people?
Of course. For as little as $5 a month, you could become a supporter of our small but mighty channel. Hopefully you'll get over to patreon.com/generational change to do so. But we've also had some wonderful super chats this evening. Chip chipped in again with $2 earlier. The same neocons who gave us Iraq created this war. They create every war.
Every war.
In fact, what I think is happening right now is that there is a shadow government. I don't ever and will never compare Trump to JFK, but it is kind of a similar situation where there is this shadow government going behind the president's back and essentially instructing somebody like Keir Starmer to say, despite what President Trump says, we will fund this war, we will put troops on the ground for Ukraine, and if it leads to World War III, then so be it. You really think that Keir Starmer is coming up with any of this shit on his own?
But you don't know that it doesn't involve Trump either. Like, this is the thing. You don't know what goes on behind the scenes. We just don't.
We don't.
But I did not mind him putting Zelensky in his place. I really didn't. I thought he had it coming. Quite honestly, it's annoying. It's annoying.
Not bloody likely. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Love you guys. Don't stop talking about Palestine. Well, we never will until Palestine is free. Well, there you go. We will not stop until Palestine is free.
Yeah.
Yalabite with the $4.99. JD interrupting Trump during the Zelensky meeting won't sit well with him. JD poses the greatest threat to Trump's dominance. JD is a product of Musk. I would agree. And Trump has already been very clear that he is not automatically giving his blessing to JD.
No.
Ex-president.
I agree with what Yalabite's saying that but that JD is a product of Musk. But I think JD does such a good job of being Trump's attack dog and really having his back that I think it won't, like, even though I think that he has his own, like, he'll have his own following and he has some stuff. I think so long as he plays Trump, just as long as people are like, licking his boots, they can stick around.
Yalabite again with the $4.99. Beyond neoliberalism, Democrats struggle with celebrity culture and tokenism, prioritizing optics over actually helping minorities. Well, remember, the Democratic Party is all about money and power. It is not about service. It is not about working people.
Well, you say that like that's party specific.
Well, it's much more party specific in the Democratic Party than it is in the Republican Party, because the Republican Party, for the most part, will tell you what they're going to do, and they do it.
They're both still corporate parties. They're
100%.
both still only serving corporate. Like they're serving corporate masters. They are tools of capital, both of them.
But the difference is that in the GOP, they kind of will go where the people tell them to go. If the people eventually rise up, like if the base of the GOP rose up against Israel, the Republican Party will have no option. They just won't. But you know what will happen if that happens? The Democratic Party, much like they welcomed all of the neocons into their party, they'll welcome all the Zion-Nazis into their party as well. Christian or Jewish, doesn't matter.
It's not going to, but there's no point to their existence then. There's no point to having New Coke. There's no point to having Republican Light. There's no point to that, which is why they will cease to exist, which is why I think we've seen our last Democratic president. But I do want to say something that I feel somewhat like, and time will really tell, but one of the things I said a long time ago in the very beginning about Trump is that I did believe he would handle the Ukraine situation better, and that is something that he would have handled better from the beginning. And I do believe that. And I was okay with how they handled Zelensky. I think that guy's got some friggin' nerve. I think he's got some friggin' nerve. You come and that's how he should have been treated in the past, more so than rolling out the red carpet, except for the fact that he was doing what we wanted him to do.
Thank you so much, Baby Ethernet. It was a great conversation, as it always is with Steve, and we really appreciate you being here. Well, we do have a slate of wonderful guests lined up. Jamie Peck will be here on Thursday. Jen's
it is not scriptural. It's not really the true Jews that really study Torah and live the Talmud. They know that it's a violation. So it isn't really not the concept of Zionism. Zionism as a geopolitical movement is not spiritual. It's not scriptural. It's not anything. Zionism is a theory, non-geopolitical is what's scriptural. Anyway.
Francesca Albanese is obviously a fantastic lady.
Love her.
Did an amazing job. Talk about somebody really speaking up against Zionism. Got to give credit where credit's due. But in terms of where we are now, look, it's going to be a bumpy road. There's no two ways about it. It's going to be a very bumpy road. And what a collage of whatever the case is about Zelensky, whatever the case is about Trump.
He signed a deal with the devil, and he did it for whatever his reasons were at the time that he did it. And he was willing to be the token. He was willing to be that guy. And the fact that he trusted the United States to abide any sort of agreement and have any honor, that was his lesson to learn. But at the end of the day, we should have never done what we did. And anything that Trump does to stop the dead bodies piling up in Ukraine is going to be something that I'm going to support. And I don't care what he says, and I don't care. I care what he does.
Well,
so
that's also, and that again, therein lies the problem with the Dems and specifically the upper liberal class. They cannot and will not accept Trump getting a win under any circumstances.
Right. They're rather us all go to shit and start World War III. Then possibly think that maybe his approach might be better. And by the way, this is why I thought he'd be better on Ukraine. I totally figured he would call up Putin. I totally figured they would sit down and be able to get along. And at the end of the day, Trump likes oligarchs. They speak the same language. Those are his kind of people. And so he also has great respect for leaders like that. He does. So I think that they'll get along swimmingly. And I think Zelensky is just going to be sort of like out in the rain.
This is it's Wag the Dog. It really is.
Completely.
This is Wag the Dog. Like he doesn't get it. Like this is Hoffman and De Niro having the conversation where De Niro's telling him, you don't understand, the ride's over. And he's like, no, the ride isn't over. I'll prove to you it's not over. He's like, I'm telling you.
It's over.
Like, we'll make it over. And if you don't stop, it's
exactly. And that's where Zelensky is. And it's unfortunate, but I believe that was the trajectory of this. The whole point of Ukraine, it's like, again, stepping further back. So if we, not just to create the instability in Russia, also, I mean, that, but also profit the military industrial complex. But at the end of the day, what you do is when you go in and you create this kind of instability, you create a country that is so indebted to you. Now, we've been doing this for years. We've done it all through Latin America. You create a level of instability and dependence so that countries have to rely on you and therefore they owe you. And that's essentially where we are with Ukraine. So we now, in order for Zelensky to be able to have any sort of salvaging of anything, he's going to have to sign a deal where he's signing over their mineral rights. So essentially, it's like the predator of the United States empire strikes again. So you just go in, you create chaos, and then in order for them to get their way out of it, they have to sign away their property to you. And so now it's like the lunch bully that collects lunch money for protection. You know, that's us. So we create the problem, and now in order to get out of the problem, you're going to owe us again. It's double dip. It's really gross. But Zelensky, unfortunately, is going to have a valuable life lesson in this. Now, I think he could end up like that. His own people are done with him, but we will see.
Let's conclude on a nice note. Again, as we mentioned earlier, you know, when you think about how Israel and everything is just like dragging us to the bottom right now. The person that I was trying to point out to you earlier, Jen, and I sent it over to Colin. So first you had Politico put this article out. Controversial Middle East documentary wins Academy Award. You know how much it must have killed them to have to write that? And
I'm curious, why is it controversial? What's controversial about it?
That Israel is committing genocide, and that's what's covered in this movie.
Oh, but again, you know, it's like you say something's controversial. Well, if you don't show controversial evidence, like, you know, that makes it so that what they're saying, like, why is it controversial? It just sounds like facts.
Because the veil is being removed. And there were lots of Zionazi tweets last night. People complaining nonstop about how, you know, this is terrible. How could you do such a thing? Oh, when they lie through their teeth. Well, like you say, like, how do you know a politician's lying? Their lips are moving. Well, you certainly could say the same about anybody who supports the state of Israel and is promoting a genocide.
However, isn't one of the two creators of this film? I mean, it's a Palestinian and an Israeli. Yes,
that is correct.
Okay,
Colin, can you please put up the other tweet that I sent you, please? So John Podhoretz, I think that's how you say his name. Now, there are a lot of shitty Zionazis out there, but I would have to say that of all the people, because this particular guy went on an absolute tweet storm, wouldn't stop, wouldn't let up. F you, anti-Semitic, anti-Israel Hollywood filth.
Okay, but who was he putting this out to?
The fact that they allowed a Palestinian film to win an Oscar.
No, but who is this guy that anybody's following him? Like, why do we care what this guy is saying?
Oh, I would say, well, he's got a very large account, and he's an editor at some particular publication called commentary.org. But it is really, it's a pro-war Zionist rag is basically what it is. And so, like many people within this particular movement, they are able to get away with murder. In this case, mass murder, many, many times over. And so, as a result, this just continues. And as we pointed out in our viral tweet, which is that the state of Israel is reflective in how they reacted to this Academy Award win. They're all a bunch of chicken shits. The second you push them in a direction that isn't what they want it to be, it's no different than the video that we showed shortly after October 7th that showed what type of Jews are the pro-Palestinian religious Jews?
Well, there's several sects. They're Hasidic sects usually. The Hasidic, the very, Orthodox sect.
So we all remember that clip of the Hasidic Jews standing with the pro-Palestinians along with that funny Jewish comedian Jacob Berger.
Jacob Berger, yeah.
And that's where you saw the video clip of the blonde, blue-eyed, pale-skinned Zionist.
Right, freaking out.
Crying. And then when she was told that she was a moron, she didn't say, F you or that. What did she do? She went up and she put her hands on people. because they think that they're untouchable.
They're again, the most entitled people on the planet. They're so entitled. Because they've been given a pass and a pass and a pass. Their entire existence is false sense of entitlement. It's entire fake ethnicity.
But maybe
it's not real.
But maybe the best part of the night was the fact that there were courageous people there. Unlike Gal Gadot or any of the others, there was Guy Pearce, who wore a Free Palestine pin on his suit proudly. And he's been very vocal about this. And Guy Pearce is an Aussie. And I don't know what the position of the Australians are generally about this issue, but kudos to him, because he's still a working actor. And he's obviously taking a pretty big risk. Now, does Guy Pearce have money? Yeah, he's got some money. I wouldn't call him rich, though. He's not in Susan Sarandon.
No, he's like he's a working actor person. But there's other people that are in that support Palestinians, some more quietly than others. But yeah. But I would suggest that nobody sees any of Gal Gadot's. Is it Gadot, whatever. I wouldn't see another one of her movies. Like there's no amount of money that you could pay me. First of all, she's not.
She sucks at acting.
Right. I was going to say, it's not like a big sacrifice to not go see her movies. It's not like she's good. Like, it was much harder for me to like give up watching and enjoying The Patriot and Braveheart based on just being disgusted by Mel Gibson. I don't know enough about her. Wonder Woman was not all that. And honestly, the best part of Wonder Woman was Robin Wright. So there's that. Yeah. So I think nobody should go see her drivel shit.
David Hunter, the only thing that was great about Gal Gadot playing Wonder Woman is that she actually she's attractive, but that's it.
There's a lot of attractive women, though. That's the thing.
A lot of them that are not
a commodity,
and a lot of them that didn't serve in the IDF and are not mass murdering psychopaths. Gal Gadot is. She may put on a pretty face, but make no mistake, she is a bloodthirsty psychopath.
Well, at this point, they all are. At this point, that is their inherent nature. They're all just inherent. Like they honestly need to be lanced like a boil because they're unfixable. They're unfixable.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would say that they are pretty much unfixable. That is where they stand. And you know what? The pride is greatest just before the fall. And much like a dying star, I generally see this as they've just gotten too big for their britches. And rather than have a little self-reflection, kind of like the American Empire dying, they're not going to. They're going to double and triple down. The fact that you have Zion-Nazis calling Hollywood anti-Semitic.
Right. It's just.
Where else are you going to go?
I just think it's so funny because people are just so fucking ignorant. Anti-Semitic is completely a European created thing. It didn't exist. Nobody in the Arab world was anti-Semitic because they were all just Arabs. Some of them were Jews, some of them were Muslims, some of them were Christian, but you know what they all were? Fucking Semites. That's the whole point. So if somebody's anti-Semitic, that would mean they're also anti-Palestinian because those people are all Semites, you fucking morons. Like, it's so stupid. It's a made-up term by Ashkenazi Jews that never existed in the Arab world. They didn't have a word for that because there were no anti-Semites because they're all fucking Semites.
Come on.
So that's what's so like ridiculous is this is completely a white concept. The people in the Arabic world, there's no anti-Semites. They're all Semites. They have no problem with Jews, by the way.
Let's end on a humorous note.
And best of luck. What caused the global financial crisis?
Well, it's essentially a credit crisis.
Yes, but how did it happen?
Well, banks and lending institutions lent money to people far in advance of the actual asset value of the things they were lending it on.
Correct. And where was that money coming from?
It was coming from banks and lending institutions.
No, that's incorrect. The money actually didn't exist.
So where did the people pay the money back to?
Well, they didn't. They couldn't. They'd been lent more money than they could afford to repay.
So what did the homeowners do?
No, hang on, Ivor, I'm asking the questions if you don't mind. Here we go.
Beg your pardon.
What did the owners of the loans do when their money couldn't be repaid?
They went broke.
Correct. And what did the homeowners do when they couldn't pay their loans back?
They went broke too.
Correct. And what did the banks do?
They paid themselves bonuses, very substantial.
Who's this guy?
Mr. John Clark.
No, which one is Mr. John Clark? I think the guy doing the interview is Mr.
Yes.
John Clark. Well, who's this guy?
Economic Archive, I believe.
But so like this is supposed to be an economics expert?
Oh, no. It's I think it's satire. But you know what, these days, who the hell knows?
Potential bonuses.
Correct. But what did they do when their depositors were going broke?
Yes, they got given $1 trillion by the government.
Correct. Why?
Because they're so important and such brilliant people, and you can't have an economy without the key decisions being made in the middle of it by bankers.
Correct. And where did that money come from?
That money came from me.
Correct. And what's that called,
It's
Ivor?
a bloody disgrace.
No.
That is called a bloody disgrace.
No, Ivor, it's called free trade.
But it isn't free trade. It's not free trade. If it were free trade, then there was a credit crisis, then asset values would drop, and I'd be able to buy the entire banking sector for crappens.
Shut up, Ivor.
Yeah, sorry, silly me.
And the answer is there's 600, Wanker Tanker, there are 613 rules that Jews follow. The number is 613.
Thanks for paying attention, Jen.
Sorry. Well, he asked.
Yeah, but you get distracted. You're like a freaking...
this coming from you, Dory? All right,
Yeah.
Go ahead. Tell me.
Whatever.
Bring me back into whatever this is.
We'll do it one more time.
The questions, if you don't mind. Here we go.
Beg your pardon?
What did the owners of the loans do when their money couldn't be repaid?
They went broke.
Correct. And what did the homeowners do when they couldn't pay their loans back?
They went broke too.
Correct. And what did the banks do?
They paid themselves bonuses, very substantial bonuses.
Correct. But what did they do when their depositors were going broke?
Yes, they got given $1 trillion by the government.
Correct. Why?
Because they're so important and such brilliant people, and you can't have an economy without the key decisions being made in the middle of it by bankers.
Correct. And where did that money come from?
That money came from me.
Correct. And what's that called,
It's
Ivor?
a bloody disgrace.
No.
That is called a bloody disgrace.
No, Ivor, it's called free trade.
But it isn't free trade. It's not free trade. If it were free trade, then there was a credit crisis, then asset values would drop, and I'd be able to buy the entire banking sector for crappens.
Shut up, Ivor.
Yeah, sorry, silly me.
So it was a comedy bit. It's a farce.
It sure seems that way.
Yeah, that can't be real. That's totally funny.
But then again, our entire banking system is a farce. So it might as well be satirized. That's really what it comes down to. And so, as we've said, the more...
That's fucking funny.
Listen, the Brits are good for some things and not other things. But dry-witted humor, they are the masters of just that.
Jen does not believe in hell. Well, look.
We're living in hell.
I mean, hell is a relative term. Again, it depends on what district you live in. I'm very fortunate that I live in the capital and have an inordinate amount of other types of privilege. But for people that don't, they're living hell. Hell is the life that people have to live when they don't know where their next meal is going to come from, and they can't afford to take care of their kids, or they have to watch their kids die because they don't have health care. That's hell. That's what people are living in now. So, yeah, well, but I don't believe in an afterlife hell thing. No.
Well, speaking of your next meal, is it going to be pizza? Is it going to be chocolate covered almonds? I mean, what's on your menu?
I think I might have reached my almond thing for the day. I think I've been really, really naughty. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm hungry though.
It is funny how you're so disciplined that you actually know how many calories you can actually take in before it's over the mark. And you're
I don't count calories. I just have, it's an approximation. But I do eat a lot of chocolate covered almonds. It's definitely a problem.
Well, I prefer dark chocolate covered.
I know, because you have to ruin everything.
Whatever. So you say. Remember, guys, smash that like button, share, subscribe, do all those things we ask you to do. We appreciate you all being here. The crowd has been fantastic. Steve was great. Thursday night, 7 o'clock, we will have Jamie Peck. It's been a while. Been trying to get her. We finally got her. Following week, on Thursday, we will have Sarah Glass. And then the following Thursday from there, we will once again have on Matt Taibbi. So we've got a lot of great guests coming up.
And guys, if you're wondering, and if you want to keep up, when we talk to Sarah Glass, the name of her book is Kissing Girls on Shabbat. And it was really good. And it's a memoir. And it just made me want to, it makes me want to hug her, but I'll settle for meeting,
David, please send us an email regarding Gary Stevenson. We are always open to suggestions. And thank you, Jay Bogues. You definitely are speaking my language.
I understand that in theory, but yeah.
And we thank you, Colanello. We thank you, Holly, myself and I, Harashnu, What the hell? Cat Negrita, Stupid Stuff, Sable Miner, Simon Steen Anderson, Wanker Tanker, Wild Vibes, Peace Dove, The Seven Sacraments of Hell.
Me, former action guy, myself, and I.
Man with long last name. The Robert Escobar Show.
I love that one.
You guys, you don't think we forgot about we haven't forgot about you guys. We have a bigger audience now. Victoria P.
It's
Brett
harder.
Boyle, and of course, Travers. We do, and Baby Ethernet. You guys have Rogan.
If man with long last name is actually like an indigenous person, that would be like the funniest thing ever. But I don't think
Henry
so.
Kajawa, of course. Always happy to see you guys here. David Nathan. You guys, like I said, we've grown big. Collage Mirage. Good name.
Ooh.
Collage Mirage.
I do collage.
Yes, you do. And you do a pretty good job of it. I keep insisting that you could.
I don't need your business suggestions. Mind your own business. Literally, your own little real estate business.
We'll end on Chris Garrett for always being here. Thank you all. Appreciate you all. We'll see you Thursday.